Brothers and sisters, please start moving to your respective halls. We are already running late. We need to start our programs as soon as possible. This is the Urdu hall. I'll request folks who are attending Farsi, English, and Arabic programs to move to their respective halls almost immediately, please. Let's wrap up. Please help the volunteers to pick up all the food and plates. We also have a children's program for boys and girls. Separately, boys can go to the puppet show room, and the girls program for youth girls is in Saba Academy, one of the classrooms. And we also have babysitting available. Let's get situated and start the program, please, promptly. Thank you.
हज़रात मोमिनीन आप लोग तशरीफ़ रखें ताकि मजलिस का आगाज़ हो सके बर मोहम्मद व आली मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم على مصيبة الحسين عليه السلام. Inshallah, he will take away plenty from these beautiful nights, inshallah. It's such a blessing to see, alhamdulillah, such a full majlis only on the second night of Ashura. It truly shows that the love of Abdullah and Hussein pulls everyone from every corner. I just want to ask, since we have such a large crowd, if we can, inshallah, maybe, and I do apologize, but scoot up a little bit to create some room for the brothers that will be coming in later with a lot of salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, inshallah. I would like to ask dear brother Asad Akbar to come, inshallah, to start the program. Please invite him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I wanted to welcome you to Saba. Thank you for coming and attending the programs. For those of you who have been here before, you've probably noticed that we've got a lot of new faces, alhamdulillah, this year. Noise from outside interrupting the programs themselves. We do have English poetry and latmiya that you guys have heard, and anyone who is interested in participating in that, we're going to have, after the program, a laptop up here that will be ready for sign-ups, and also anyone with the green armbands. If you're interested, please come up and sign up at the laptop, or approach one of the people with the green armbands. We'd love to have some new blood and some fresh faces, inshallah, participate in the program as well. And also, you might have seen cycling through the slides that we have a phone number available for people to give feedback. Just to repeat that phone number, it's 408-478-9261. If you want the number again, you can approach any of the ones with the green armbands. Please, we'd love to hear your feedback, good or bad, what can be improved. No one is perfect, and we continue year after year. One of the things I think would be the mic as well that we need to improve upon. With that, we'd like to invite Sheikh Noorudin up to the table with a loud Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجهم والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وأما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المتين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجهم. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. تسلیت عرض میکنیم خدمت شما. My condolences to each and every one of you, mu'mineen and mu'minat. Condolences to our leadership, Maraji Taqleed, Maqam Muazzam Rahbari. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal farajahum. This evening that we're commemorating that second night of the month of Muharram, and remembering the movement, the revolution of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. So last night we had mentioned some introduction, and we wanted to make very clear last night two main, very important ideas, and so that we don't lose track of it, and so that we don't forget, let's go over them very quickly. Number one, the movement, the revolution of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam does not belong exclusively to us as followers of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Sometimes we can get that idea that we own it. It's ours. This revolution belongs to us. In fact, this revolution is an Islamic revolution. And it's just as important to us as it is to our Sunni brothers. And just as we have no right to lay exclusive claim to the movement of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, in the same right, our brothers don't have any right to forget about it or to disregard the movement of Imam Hussein. Rather than Majlis Azadari, Majalis Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, rather than they become something like mazhabi, concerned with only one particular school of thought, Majalis Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam should be something that brings wahdat, unity, to these different madhahib of Islam. Because when we look at the movement of Imam Hussein, as we had mentioned last night, he doesn't mention anything directly related to madhab Shi'i in his entire movement. I mean, he barely speaks about Ghadir Khum. What does he talk about? Islam. The danger that Yazid's Khilafat would pose to Islam. He never speaks about Tashayyu. And so this is that first and most important point. That Majalis Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, and especially in this part of the world where we find ourselves, it's very important that we don't let Majlis Imam Hussein, Azadari, Sine Zani, all of the collective mourning that we do during this time of year, don't let it become something that separates us from other madhahib. In fact, we should be using this as an opportunity to draw ourselves together and create common ground, because Imam Hussein and his movement, his revolution, belongs to all Muslims, and in fact all humanity. So this was one important point that we had mentioned last night. But in finishing last night, we also mentioned that a lot of times when we look at self-building, self-reformation, working on our own shortcomings, our own weaknesses, when we look at our calendar, we get out the Saba calendar, and we look at the calendar, our focus, our attention is usually on Shahr Ramadan. So if we want to do any khudsazi, if we want to do any tazkiyah, if we want to do any self-purification, we look for Shahr Ramadan. And we think that, that's the month that you do this in. It's true. It's a good month to reform oneself and to fight against one's shortcomings and one's weaknesses. It's made for that. Shahr Ramadan is important. I mean, this verse that we read this evening, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, seek the help of Allah with patience and with prayer. Mufassirin have often said sabr in this ayah means fasting. Seek the help of Allah with what? بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, or with fasting and with prayer. So Shahr Ramadan is there for self-reformation. Shahr Ramadan is there for self-building. It exists there for that. But realize Shahr Muharram has an advantage over Shahr Ramadan. Khudsazi is something that takes time. Nobody here should think that, tonight, hey, tasmeem migram, I'm going to make up my mind to change, and yet dafa'i, I'm going to change. In one instant, I'm going to change and become a insan, become a human being tonight. Usually it takes years to traverse this path. To go from haywan, animal, to become haywan and natiq. To become an insan. To become Adam. It takes some time to become human. Karbala, Muharram allows this to happen in an instant. A path that can take years can be traversed in a moment. And someone can say, wow, what do you mean by this? I'll give you one example and then we'll start with this evening's discussion, insha'Allah. Send a salawat. So one example of this instant change that can happen. And I'll give you two just because I'm going to take up your time this evening. One we can see with Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. When the news reaches Imam Hussein Nisfirah, on the way to Karbala, on the way to Kufa, when the news reaches Imam Hussein that Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil and Hani ibn Urwa have been martyred, what does Imam Hussein reply? Because his companions start saying to him, hey, Muslim has been martyred, Hani has been martyred, can we go back home now? It's sad to say that there may be many of us, me, myself, any of us, we could end up in this position. Muslims dead, Imam. Hani has been made martyr. Let's go home. Beleshkan, let's return to our house. What does Imam Hussein say when they tell him, let's go back? Muslim has been killed, let's go home. Imam Hussein says, La khayru fil aish ba'da ha'ula'i. There's no good left in life after the shahadat of these two. If Muslim ibn Aqil is made shaheed, if Hani ibn Urwa is made shaheed, then there's nothing good left in life. At this instant, Imam Hussein becomes Karbala'i. And maybe we'll explain that later on to make it fully clear to you. Imam Hussein's intention was never Kufa, it was always Karbala. Kufa was for me and you. Karbala was the intention and the aim of Imam Hussein. But in this instant that he receives this news, Hussein becomes Karbala'i. One more example then. Send a salawat. Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha. If you look at the history and you read about Hazrat Zainab alayha salam, you'll see that up until Yawm Ashura, she displays what we would call, quote unquote, typical female characteristics. And sisters, don't get mad at me, because if you think the brother's side is full, the sister's side is fuller. So brothers, if we get them mad, just make a path for me to dash out the door, huh? Sisters, we're not trying to call you down, but there are some female qualities, characteristics that are displayed by Hazrat Zainab up until Yawm Ashura. For instance, when Zainab sees troops upon troops coming to the battlefield, she begins to weep and to lament and say, Ya Hussein, is there no one who can help you? When Zainab hears Imam Hussein say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, this caravan is heading towards shahadat, she loses control of herself and she begins to cry. Zainab shows a tenderness. Zainab shows a softness that is characteristic of womanhood up until Yawm Ashura. On the day of Ashura, Yadafai, in an instant, Zainab is transformed from the Zainab that existed before Yawm Ashura into the leader of this caravan, into the revolutionary that we know and love today. In an instant, she's transformed. What's the point of me saying this to you? Brothers and sisters, don't let this month pass. This is our instant. This is our time. And in a moment, we can change our sarnavisht, our destiny. We can completely change the course of our spiritual progress. Just like the news of the shahadat of Muslim changes Hussein, how should the shahadat of Hussein change us in an instant? And this was some of those most important points that we had mentioned last night. Send a salawat and we'll begin with this evening's discussion, inshallah. So as you know, we had promised that we would be discussing the issue of imtihan, tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before we begin our discussion concerning tests, though, we should introduce it a little bit by explaining that human beings have been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free. He created us as free agents. We can choose right or wrong, up or down, left or right. We can choose. Do we want our tea sweet? Do we want it with less sugar, more sugar? What do we want? You can choose in life. And we have a certain freedom that is granted to us to choose that hasn't been granted to any other creation that Allah has created. Jinns are the closest that come to us when it comes to this power of choice. Even angels don't even possess this. Angels can't tell Allah no. No, Allah, I'm not going to do that. Today's my day off. Angels can't reply to Allah like that. Only jinn and insan have this ability to choose freely, yes or no, halal or haram. We have a freedom. But no one should think that this freedom is absolute freedom. This freedom that we've been given is subordinate to the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the will of Allah. Our will is subservient and subordinate to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even though we're free, still we're not completely free. It reminds me of a hadith that we have from Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Someone came to Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam and asked him about this jabr, predestination, that Allah has ordained everything that happens, and asks him, about freedom of will and jabr. Do we have full ikhtiyar, full choice, or are we majboor? Are we compelled by Allah? Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, the truth is between this and that. Yani, neither are we completely free, nor are we majboor, are we forced. This is a very important point to make whenever we discuss imtihan, whenever we discuss tests. Why? Because there are tests that we undergo that we feel that we have it within our power to choose and to overcome these tests. But we must always remember that these tests and their outcome are within the power of Allah, within the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Human beings have been created to endure tests and imtihanat. In fact, this is the goal of life. Soul has been put in the physical body. For what reason? For it to attain growth and to strive towards perfection. The only way that human beings grow is through trials and tribulations. Rahat talabi, seeking an easy life, all that does is make you gain weight and get lazy. This is the result of rahat talab, looking for an easy life. No, human beings grow and prosper and progress only with hardship. If there's any doctors in the audience, then they know this, that the greatest advances that we've made in medicine are a result of war or of disease. War and disease drive medical progress. We've become experts. This Iraq war that they just came out of, the medical progress that they've made in treating brain injuries from explosions. They wouldn't have been able to make this progress unless there were explosions. If you don't have explosions, then you don't have medical progress in treating explosions. This is how human beings grow. This is how we develop. We need hardship. Even you go to school, what do they base your progress on? Your results in tests. Test is a part of human life. There's no escaping from test. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to endure test. Test is an integral part of our life. You can't separate it. Some people might think like, oh, test, it's not asli, it's arazi. It's not original to our life. It's not something basic and fundamental in our life. It's something accidental, something coincidental. No. If there's no test, there's no progress. If there's no hardship, if there's no trial, if there's no tribulation, there's nothing to be gained. Halal and haram only make sense in the context of test. Good and bad, haqq and batil, only serve a purpose in the context of test. Imtihan is our natural state. And so when we look at it from this point of view, imtihan is something integral, testing is something integral, fundamental, and absolutely necessary for the growth of the human being, inshallah. Please send us salawat. So tests can be individual or communal. You can have your individual test. Your family can have a test that you have to deal with as a family. Your community can have a test that you have to deal with as a community. Nations can have tests. Tests are applicable to each and every one of us, no matter our status, no matter our state. And if a person doesn't know that they're being tested, then they're really in trouble. A lot of us are living our life thinking that, we're badbacht and bichare. Why do bad things always happen to me? How come my car always breaks down? How come my bills are always so high? How come my wife's always nagging me? What kind of trials and tribulations do I have? And we think like, oh man, my life is just awful. That's why you see a lot of people in this country are suffering with depression. They got to take a medicine for their depression, right? But if you watch the TV tell you that this medicine could cause suicidal thoughts. Baba, how are you going to give a depressed person medicine that's going to make them think about suicide? This is Obamacare for you. Don't think they're trying to heal you, huh? They're trying to get rid of you. Oh, you feel depressed? Take this pill. It'll make you want to kill yourself. People are suffering with this depression because they haven't accepted the fact that imtihan and tests, trials and tribulations are not only a part of life, but that they're good for us. There's benefit in tests for us. Testing can be poverty or wealth. Testing can be sickness or health. When we make dua, when we ask Allah, Ya Allah, have mercy on me and give me shafa'at badani, shafa'at ruhi. Heal me, heal my body, heal my soul. When we ask for shafa'at badani, we're asking for health in our physical body. What we're saying is, Allah, don't test me with sickness, test me with health. Because you're not going to escape the test. There's going to be test. When you say, Allah, increase my rizq, what you're saying is, Allah, don't test me with poverty. Test me with wealth. You're not going to escape the test. There's going to be a test. And don't think because you have a money, or you drive a Mercedes Benz, or you live in a big house, or whatsoever it is, you wear fancy clothes, you got $300 shoes on, you're still under test. That house is a test. That car is a test. That income is a test. Don't think that, oh, hey, life is good now, I don't have no more tests. Baba, you're in the test. You just haven't realized it. And like we just said, if you're in test, if you're under test, and you don't realize you're under test, you're in a whole lot of trouble. So this issue of testing has to be understood. Our knowledge, our problem is that we don't acknowledge that we're being tested, even though we've been created for testing. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wa salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In Nahjul Balagha, khutbatu qasi'ah, it's usually sermon 192, but different Nahjul Balagha are like different. So you gotta search around for it. It might be 191, it might be 193 in some versions. In the version that I have, it's sermon 192. It's a famous sermon in Nahjul Balagha known as Khutbatu Qasi'ah with Sad, Qaf, Alif, Sad, Ain, Ta marbuta. This sermon is one of the longest sermons in Nahjul Balagha, and I'm not going to recite it for you. It's better that when you leave here tonight, you go home. I know nobody goes home and goes straight to sleep. Don't nobody here go home and say, oh, I'm tired. No, you sit up, you watch a little TV. Young guys probably play a little Xbox. Whatever the case is, you got a little time when you get home. Tonight when you get home, read this sermon. You'll learn a lot about imtihan in this sermon. But one thing that Imam Ali makes very clear in this sermon is why Allah tests us. What's the aim of testing? What's one of the goals of putting us under test? One of the aims that Imam Ali makes very clear in this khutbah of testing is that imtihanat, tests, remove takabbur, arrogance and pride from our hearts. Testing removes arrogance from the heart. Arrogance, if we were to list out the akhlaqi problems that people face in their life, and each and every one of us face numerous problems in our life. Akhlaqi issues, spiritual issues, social issues, financial issues. But when we list out these akhlaqi issues, number one on the list, according to many of the urafa, is takabbur, arrogance. This sense of pride that the human being gets inside of him. This is the number one problem when it comes to our akhlaq. Takabbur. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam says, imtihanat, tests, remove takabbur from our hearts. Takabbur is something that all human beings suffer from. Don't think that anybody's free from it. Arrogance is something that we all deal with. Pride is something that we all struggle with. There's no one that's free from it. No matter who you are, no matter what your status is, everyone suffers from takabbur. One of the urafa said, look, takabbur is not one of the states that men suffer from. It's the state that men suffer from. It's not yeki as halat, it is the halat. The number one problem that human beings have to deal with is takabbur. Takabbur is that dangerous or something. It's that number one issue that the human beings deal with. Everyone suffers from it. And it comes in different shapes and different sizes. You can't always recognize it. Usually when we say someone is mutakabbir, what does that mean? Oh, he walks around like this. His chest is always puffed out. His head is always high. He thinks he's better than everybody else. He speaks to us roughly. He talks to us condescendingly, as though we're lower than him. And this is the idea that we have of arrogance, isn't it? Arrogance is coming in so many anwa'i mukhtalif, different types of arrogance. One of the brothers in his speeches, one of the ulama in their speeches, talking about this same issue of takabbur, he comes and he says, what about those guys that come to you, when they shake your hand, like this hand is falaj, it's paralyzed. They shake your hand like this is a dead limp fish. When they speak to you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ako man kuche ke shuma hastam. I'm the small one, brother. I'm bande mukhlis hastam. I'm a very sincere servant of yours, brother. No karatam, cha karatam. And you say, Baba, why do you have to speak so softly? Injuri muttaqin sohbat mikunam. This is how the muttaqin talk. We sit here quiet and we're pious and I wouldn't hurt a fly. This is also a type of takabbur. By being low, he's trying to raise himself high. Understand something, how we get mutakabbir, how we get arrogant. It's natural for us to end up like this. That's why it's so difficult to combat it. You see, we are created by a great God, a great Lord. So inside of us, we naturally seek and desire greatness. Our Creator is great. And so we want greatness. So anything that we endeavor to do, we want to be the greatest. When we go to work, we want to be a great employee. We're not satisfied to just be, he's just a regular employee. No, we want to be the great employee. When we get married, we want someone great. Even though we ourselves, we're not that great. But when we go looking, we want someone great. We desire greatness. It's natural. We want greatness. We're created by the great. Allahu Akbar. He's the greatest. So we desire greatness. So when we go after greatness and to attain greatness and to pursue greatness and to achieve it for ourselves, sometimes we get lost in this path. And we forget what's the hadaf, what's the ghayat, what's the aim. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest. But sometimes we get lost in the path and we start to think that, this money, I made it. This house, I bought it. This body, it's because I work out. I created it. So we have these ideas that we did something. In this path to greatness, we get confused and we forget that the source of greatness is Allah, not ourselves. And this is how takabbur sneaks into our hearts, hides away itself into our lives, and sometimes we don't even recognize it. How do we get rid of this takabbur? Well, we mentioned that Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentioned in this khutbah qasiyah, Sermon 192, he mentions that one way that takabbur is removed from the heart is through imtihanat. Another way is through salat. And I know, like, as Muslims, we always say that we put emphasis on prayers, but let's be honest with each other. Let me get a little closer to the mic so everybody can hear what I have to say. It's important here. When it comes to salat, we know we're falling short. Each and every one of us here know we're falling short. Salat has become something memorized for us, something we can spit out in our sleep. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. And sometimes we say it like that too because we're in a rush. We got to get back to work. We got to get back to our lunch, whatever. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. We're in a rush to get it done, not paying attention to what we're doing. So even our salat, sometimes it only fulfills the bare minimum of salat, that we can call it salat, that shikl zahiri, that outward form of salat. We fulfill that and that only. I think I recommended it last night. Everywhere I go, I recommend it to people. I've been doing it for years now. If you've heard it already, please bear with me. Adab al-Salat by Imam Khomeini. The book is available for free online in English. If you don't own it, what's wrong? I mean, it's free. We can't even give books away anymore? Baba, forget about buying them. We know you don't want to buy books. That's why we're giving them away free now. And still it's difficult to get people to get them. This book, Adab al-Salat, it can help you with the inner Salat. The inner aspects of the Salat. To reform the Salat so that it reforms us. So get your hands on the book. Read it, study it. It's in a very good English. I know some English translations, it might have well have left it in the original language. But this English translation, alhamdulillah, is a good one. Get the book, please. It can help us with our salat. This verse of Quran that we read, what does it say? وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Seek the help of Allah in your tests, in your trials, in your tribulations. Seek the help of Allah against your takabbur. In what way? بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. With patience and with prayer. Salat is one of those things that eases imtihanat also. If you're ever faced with severe trial, severe test, severe tribulation, try this. Turn away from that test. Go to your musalla, go to your place where you pray, and just make sajda to Allah. Say, Ya Allah, help me. Ya Allah, help me with this test that I'm facing. Give me assistance. I'm not going to guarantee you that that problem, that test will go away. I can't guarantee that. I can't tell you that if you go and make sajda, test will go away. It won't. It may not. But I will guarantee that if you make that sajda, that test will become easier for you. Why? Because in seeking greatness, when you're confronted with this test, you did not lose sight of the goal. We didn't lose sight of the aim. We didn't become mutakabbir. No, we made sajda to Allah, who is the greatest, and we said, Allah, help me with this test. Allah, help me with this test. This is one way that we can gain help with our test and also gain help with this issue of takabbur. I mean, look at the motions of salat themselves. They are designed to defeat arrogance. You have to bow, and after bowing, then you have to put even your face, and you know, the face is the most honored part of the believer's body. It's actually like haram to strike another believer in the face. Face is very honored portion of the believer. But Allah tells us, put this face which I've honored, put it in the dirt before me. This also is a healing for takabbur, for arrogance. There's a lot of ways that we can confront and fight takabbur, arrogance in our own lives. One way that I always recommend to brothers is to do ghusl, kafno, dafn of the deceased. And a lot of us, because we grew up in the West, you know, we watch too much Walking Dead, so we're scared of dead people. Somebody passes away and you say, brother, come help me with this ghusl. They go, whoa, no. Man, he's dead. He's harmless. He can't do anything. Don't get scared. People are afraid of death. But one thing that defeats takabbur, this takabbur is this experience of washing the dead. It reminds you of our own ultimate end. And if someone takes that job seriously, goes and participates in the ghusl of a deceased mu'min, it can really change the heart, melt the heart, and bring one more in touch with one's own mortality, and thus closer to Allah, and rid our hearts, inshallah, of takabbur. There are many things that we can do to fight against takabbur. And we should not think that we're ever free from test either. One thing that we notice about Karbala, one thing that we see about the movement of Imam Hussein, is that Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam was under test in Karbala. Test not endured by any of the awliya Allah. I mean, Ibrahim was captured, tied, and put to be set on fire. But Allah made that fire cool and calm for him. Ibrahim was commanded to sacrifice his own son, his firstborn son, his only son. But that son was saved, was delivered. Even Khalilullah, Ibrahim, the friend of Allah, underwent tests like this. There's another thing. Don't think that because you're a believer, don't think that because you're pious, you're muttaqi, mutadayyin, ahl masjid, you go to the center, that you're free from test. Surah Ankabut begins like that, doesn't it? Surah Ankabut says what? Do men think that they will be left alone because they say we believe? Just because you say amanna, we believe in Allah, that doesn't get you free from test. Even Ibrahim Khalilullah, the friend of Allah, was under test. In fact, claiming belief and drawing oneself closer to Allah increases test. This is trial by fire, we say in English. Human beings grow under this type of test, develop and gain perfection under this type of test. So, don't think that we're ever free from being tested. Awliyaullah were tested, so what about you and I? You know, one thing that we see about the movement of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, is that Karbala is a microcosm, a small version of what's going on in the world at large, and even what's going on inside of our own hearts. So it can be applied to the world at large or even to the individual. At Karbala, everyone who entered that sahne, everyone who entered that scene at Karbala was under test. Don't think that it was only Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, the ashabish, his companions, that were under test at Karbala. The enemies also were under test at Karbala. It's not just Ahl Bayt alayhim salam that were under test. Enemies of Imam Hussein were also under test there. Umar Saad is under test at Karbala. Shimr la'natullah alayhi is under test at Karbala. These entire troops that come from Kufa are under test at Karbala. Not just Imam Hussein. But what's so amazing about this? You know, whenever you go to Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, you never leave empty-handed. Whenever you go to Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, you never leave empty-handed. If any of you have ever been to ziyarat, then you have experienced this firsthand. I've never met a person, myself included, no one that's ever been for ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam or any of the other ai that has come back empty-handed. I never came across it. Someone that went for ziyarat and then they come back and said, Hichi, nothing. We don't have nothing. We came back with empty hands. It doesn't happen. When you go to the door of Ahl Bayt alayhim as-salam and you knock, you always get a reply. They always answer. The thing that's beautiful about Ahl Bayt alayhim as-salam is that they will put themselves in hardship to deliver you and I. And this is the Rams, the secret of progressing in this spiritual path. We have to accept test, volunteer for test. Right now we try to avoid test. Ooh, I'm not going to do that. It might be a test. Let me stay out of there. I might get tested. Ooh, I'm not going to do that. It might be a test. Ahl Bayt alayhim salam always put themselves in a position to undergo test, and were always prepared to assist us with our own tests. This is why when you go for ziyarat up to today and you go to that zari and you hold it and you explain what test you are undergoing, what tribulation you are faced with, then expect a result and expect an answer. Biduna shak, you'll get that. You don't even have to go there. Sometimes just opening one's heart, expressing oneself to Allah, crying out for the help of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, it's sufficient. Reading Ziyarat Ashura is as though being in Karbala itself. And we have this, Ziyarat Ashura was first given to us by Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. And actually it predates Imam Muhammad Baqir, but definitely the version in our hands today originates with Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. And he himself, he says, look, when you read Ziyarat Ashura, it's as though you are at the Zari of Imam Hussein in Karbala. The thawab is the same. You sit in your home, face Karbala, read Ziyarat Ashura, explain yourself to the Imam, the imtihanat that you are under, and expect relief. This is one of the khususiyat of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. It's a new year. But it's not that type of new year for Shias where we say Mubarakbad, Happy New Year. A lot of our Muslim brothers may be texting you or calling you and telling you Happy New Year. No, it's not a Happy New Year. It's not a Happy New Year for us, because you know why? Last year, every test that we encountered, we failed. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Every test that we encountered last year, we failed, and not just failed, but failed miserably. Any victory that we attained was not a result of our own efforts. We can call out to Imam Hussein for help. We just told you, in one instant, Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, shahadat of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam can change us. Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam is willing to help you and I with our imtihan. How can I say this? On the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein helped Umar Sa'd with his imtihan. Imam Hussein helped Umar Sa'd with his imtihan? Send us salawat and we'll explain that inshallah. When Ahl Bayt alayhim salam arrived at Karbala, Karbala was already known to them. Karbala was known in the time of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who foretold the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, who described that land of Karb, Bala. The name itself, Karbala, lets you know that it's a place of test. Karb, tragedy, Bala, affliction, calamity. Karb Bala, its name tells you it's a place of test. When Imam Hussein, the Ashabish, when they arrived at Karbala, they surveyed this place known by some as Nainawa, Karb Bala. There they saw a small tape, a little hill. So Imam Hussein put their tents on the other side of this hill. Look at the thinking of Imam Hussein. This is defensive strategy. He says, I will put my family on the other side of this hill, away from the enemy, so that I can use this hill in my final hours to defend my family. Ghayrat Imam Hussein was at such a level that he would not allow anyone to violate the sanctity of his women and his children. He puts his camp behind the hill. He stands on the hill and surveys the battlefield. In the battlefield, right about where the forces would have met, there's a Godi. In Godi, Persian is like a little depression. Godi in Persian is like a little depression in the land. A little hollow place in the battlefield. You know, when Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam was returning from one of these ghazavat, ubur mikard az Karbala. They were passing by Karbala. Their Amir al-Mu'mineen paid special attention to this battlefield and described different khususiyat and specifics of this battlefield. But he paid special attention to this Godi. He paid special attention to this hollow place in the landscape of Karbala. Imam Hussein himself, when he arrives at Karbala, his glance falls, his eyesight falls on this hollow place in the battlefield of Karbala. Imam Hussein knows that this is that Godi, this is that depression where he will be martyred. On the day of Ashura, after everyone has been martyred, when Imam Hussein is left alone and has been filled with arrows, he falls from his horse into this Godi. And people hear the breaking of arrows because his body was so filled with the arrows. And as he's laying in this depression, this hollow space in the battlefield, the enemies surround him like hyenas around an injured lion. Each of them wanting to step forward to cut the head off of Imam Hussein, but all of them afraid. And you may have heard before that Shimr ibn al-Jawshan, Lanatullah alayh, was the one who stepped forward to behead Imam Hussein. And it's true. But before this Mal'oon stepped forward, someone stepped forward before him. It was Umar Sa'ad. Umar Sa'ad comes into the Godi, comes into that depression in the land, draws near to Imam Hussein, pulls his sword out, and gets ready to separate the head from the body of Imam Hussein. And then he hears Imam Hussein say to him, Umar Sa'ad, could you not find someone else to send to do this job? Umar Sa'ad, could you not send someone else to make me a martyr? Don't make yourself badbacht and bichare in this life and the next. Don't destroy yourself in this life and in the hereafter. Umar Sa'ad, turn back and get away from here. Imam Hussein is making light the test of Umar Sa'ad. When Umar Sa'ad hears what Imam Hussein is saying, fear, shame turns him back from Imam Hussein. The test of Umar Sa'ad on that day was a severe test. And even though he is condemned forevermore to the hellfire, at the moment when he stepped forward to behead Hussein, Hussein helps him with his test. Brothers and sisters, how many tests have we failed? How many tests do we endure every day? Test upon test. As we get rid of one through the door, another one comes in the windows. We are beset by imtihanat. But Imam Hussein is ready to help you with your tests. Imam Hussein is ready to give you relief from these tests. This evening, one last statement from me. The Shuhada also have the effect of removing and changing our hearts. As we mentioned, you only have to look at Zainab. When Zainab, standing on that tappe, standing on that hill, looks out at the battlefields and sees that Godi, that depression with Imam Hussein laying in it, and Shimr on his back, ready to cut the throat of Imam Hussein as the animals are slaughtered, she calls out and races to the side of Imam Hussein. You know, one of the effects of the Shuhada is that if you ever get a chance to go and visit the shuhada, they bring you to your knees. Shuhada also remove takabbur from the heart. Shuhada bring us down to the lowest portion. They make us even prostrate, laying our heads on their gravestones. Shuhada remove takabbur also. Zainab races to Imam Hussein. But look what Imam Hussein's scene does to Zainab. When Zainab reaches near Imam Hussein, she collapses on the ground. Zainab can't get up anymore. Zainab can't move. All Zainab can do is make sajda there by the side of Imam Hussein. Some have even said her sajdagah, the place where she does her sajda, is on the body of Imam Hussein. Even the shuhada can remove takabbur, can change the hearts, can melt the hearts, and bring us down into a position of khushu and khudu. We ask of Allah to have mercy on our souls, to forgive us of our sins. Ya Allah, guide us to your straight path. Keep our feet firm in your path. Have mercy on the souls of those who are departed in our families, in our communities. Ya Allah, hasten the appearance of your Imam and make us his helpers and supporters upon his return. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم ولعنة الله على قوم الظالمين آمين رب العالمين صلوات محمد ماتم حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, 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 I left my heart in Karbala. All of your voices. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala. Everyone. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala. MashaAllah, I need your voice. I left my heart in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, MashaAllah, to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, MashaAllah. I left my heart in Karbala. The luminous moon lighting the way, the rising sun that brightens the day. Heaven without you would be in flames. You're the heaven in Karbala. The luminous moon lighting the way, the rising sun that brightens the day. Heaven without you would be in flames. You're the heaven in Karbala. Your vision Visitors offer you their hands. Enemies will never understand. How can the water lose to the sand? How can the thirst win in Karbala? Why? Heaven is open, Ya Hussein. Why? Angels descending, Ya Hussein. Why? They are residing Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, mashallah. I left my heart in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, mashallah, to Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala. Everyone, from Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I can lift my heart in Karbala. The hand of God that nurtures the young, speaking for Allah, you were the tongue, separating his right from the wrong, elevated in Karbala. The ship that sails swiftly through the waves, and whoever boards your ship is safe, immune from the punishment of grave. Whoever moors you in Karbala, when will we meet again, Ya Hussein? When under your dome will I grieve again? From Najaf will I walk to Karbala. When will we meet again, Ya Hussein? When under your dome will I breathe again? From Najaf will I walk to Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. I left my heart in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, mashallah, to Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. Everyone, Karbala. My guilty soul's in prison, yearning to be free. My sins are the door, and only you have the key. With my head down, I am walking up to your door, asking for 2 wings to soar, asking for 2 wings to soar. Marching to you, my world behind me, Ya Hussein. My watching you, my world behind me, everyone, Ya Hussein. Marching to you, my world behind me, Ya Hussein. I came to find you, can you find me, Ya Hussein? Marching to you, my world behind me, Ya Hussein. I came to you, I came to find you, can you find me, Ya Hussein? Amongst the millions who are sighted, Ya Hussein, give me your 2 wings to fly, so with my bird's eye can I soar over your shrine. Angels soaring by my side, raining for Hussein to fly, so with my bird's eye can I soar over your shrine. Angels soaring by my side, raining tears for Hussein. I came to you with all of my grief and sorrow. Hussein, Hussein. I came to you with all my grief and sorrow, and only you know the meaning of tragedy. My vision is blurry from the tears that I flow, burning my cheeks as they fall, burning my cheeks as they fall. My eyes are two mountains and my tears, Ya Hussein. My eyes are two mountains and my tears, Hussein. My eyes are two mountains and my tears, Ya Hussein. Two lakes I will let flow for my dear, Ya Hussein. My eyes are two mountains and my tears, Ya Hussein. Two lakes I will let flow for my dear, Ya Hussein. And you're the sun, so dry my tears, Ya Hussein. Take them to the clouds to fly, so with my bird's eye can I soar over your shrine. Angels soaring by my side, raining tears for Hussein to fly, so with my bird's eye can I soar over your shrine. Angels soaring by my side, raining tears for Hussein. With every step that I take towards you, I fall, Hussein, Hussein. With every step that I take towards you, I fall. The sadness and agony for you have me drained. But when I'm near you and set my eyes at your doors, I rush to you and ignore all of my pain. Reaching you with my disheveled state, Ya Hussein. Reaching you with my disheveled state, Ya Hussein. Reaching you with my disheveled state, Ya Hussein. I'm falling and crawling through your gate, Ya Hussein. My lost soul has found what it searched for, Ya Hussein. My heart has found what it's yearned for, Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. أبد والله يا زهرة ما ننسى حسينا، أبد والله يا زهرة ما ننسى حسينا، أبد والله يا زهرة ما ننسى حسينا، أبد والله يا زهرة أبد والله يا زهرة ما ننسى حسينا، أبد والله. لا إله إلا الله، لا إله إلا الله، محمد رسول الله، علي ولي الله، علي ولي الله، علي ولي الله. Everyone, نادى علي يا مزهر العجائب، نادى علي يا مزهر. ما شاء الله. تجده عونا لك في النوائب، كل هم وغم سينجلي، كل هم وغم سينجلي بعزمتك يا الله، بعزمتك يا الله، بنبوتك يا محمد، بنبوتك يا محمد، بولايتك علي 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 علي. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح